Good night. And do you know that actually trying to avoid an argument with your spouse could create more problems? No, I don't want you to go away thinking Charlene and Josh is saying you need to fight more in your marriage. But we're saying if you learn to fight fear in your marriage, you can actually find a way to draw even closer to each other. So that's what this live is about tonight. How do you fight fear in your marriage? Charlene, do you enjoy fighting fear? Can you
Sometimes.
fight fear?
Yes, I can fight fear. Yeah.
Well, we want to definitely get into how can we share some points in terms of fighting fear in the marriage. Marriage, no matter what happens, we're going to fight.
Hmm.
As long as you're two individuals, you have different opinions, you've come from different backgrounds, you will have disagreements. You have two choice. You could either decide, well, you have three. You could avoid fighting altogether and hold it inside. And what do you think is going to happen, Charlotte, that
You're
if
going
you
to
do that?
explode.
So if you avoid fighting,
You're going to eventually
you're probably
explode.
going to explode.
Hmm.
You could probably fight, name call, raise your voice, get angry with your spouse, try to win the argument. What do you think is going to happen there, Sean?
Going to escalate the fight again.
For somebody like me, I might end up in the doghouse.
Yeah,
Men, we
yeah,
don't
yeah,
want
yeah,
that.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right. The third one is learn to fight fear. And that's what we want to talk about tonight. How do you fight fear with your spouse? All right. So that's the topic for this evening. If you're hearing us, all right, please share in the comment that you're actually hearing us. If the audio is good, just give us a thumb up or just say, hey, I'm hearing you guys clean. So we're gonna jump right in, Charlie, and you're gonna start us out. So the first one here is discussing the problem when you're both calm, not in the heat of anger. What does that mean for you, Charlie?
It means that when both of us are angry about something, or rather, maybe I'm angry about something and I'm ready to kill, and I'm thinking to myself, I have to take some deep breaths, count to 100, and say, okay, this might not be the best way to express myself. And trust me, I get really angry, so I have to take deep breaths before I can answer and say, Charlene, you might say something that might end up escalating this fight. So here what? Go eat some ice cream or chocolate or something and walk away because you really need to take a break. Trust me, you really need to take a break. So you have to be calm because you see, when you're calm, I know it's difficult to be calm, but you need to be calm. So you see, when you take that break, come back, cool out for a while, you're able now to express yourself in a more even manner, in a more calm fashion. That way, the person can understand what you're saying clearly. It doesn't mean that what they did wasn't wrong. It just means that you want to be able to deal with the situation without attacking each other. So that's what we're talking about here. Don't allow the problem to fester in a particular way where you're only answering the heat of the moment. You need to be calm to express yourself. Now, I'm telling you, it's not easy because I blow up when I'm angry, but I know it's something that I need to continue working on. And I know some of you who are watching need to also work on it because trust me, see, when you're fighting like that, I know it's not going to be nice. And later on, you're wondering, what did I say and what did I do? And you know you have to retract your words and you don't really want to go down the road. So, as I saying, when tempers flare, don't say anything because as soon as you say it, you realize you didn't mean it. Sometimes we do name calling, sometimes we attack viciously. So remember, fighting fear means making compromises, what I'm talking about. So keep calm and carry yourself with dignity.
One of the things, especially for men, sometimes we might want to take a drive. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to be taking a drive and then come back and don't discuss it. Be intentional to the fact that you really want to calm down. You want to ask yourself the questions. Why do I want to have this conversation? What do I want to get out of this conversation? Do I want to draw closer to my spouse or do I simply want to win the argument? So before you get into the conversation, establish in your head what is it that you hope to accomplish. Because if you start that conversation understanding,
It's like you're
I
drinking
want
another
my
place.
I want my wife to draw closer to me, then even as you take the time to cool down, you take a drive and you get back, be intentional about what you're trying to accomplish. So my wife said, I think I'm jumping ahead. I'm not sure, but maybe I'm tying this. But let's look at the second point. Go ahead, Charlotte.
Don't bring up past issues when discussing current problems. Oh, many of us know about that, right? We're so angry. So we're bringing up past issues. So, Joshua, tell us, what do you think that is about?
I think there are times that you're in an argument and you want to win. You're being cornered. The person seemed to have won this particular argument. And I'm like, you know what? I need to dig deep here. So I can't seem to win this argument, but I remember a similar argument where Charlene was wrong. So I go deep into my pocket and I say, you remember when you did X, Y, and Z? And before you know it, what we started the argument about is not what we're discussing right now. So right there and then, you have now tried to win the argument. You bring up something from the past. It may have nothing specific to do with this argument. What you've done now, Charlene's gone into the defensive. Now she know because I've opened the bag. So what does she do?
I dig up for something
She
else.
finds
Yes.
something else that I did. And now the argument is going back and forth. And by the time we're finished, tempers are flaring, we're angry, we're upset, we're defending each other, we're fighting. We can't even remember what the original fight was all about. So if you really want to connect with each other, don't bring up the past discussion when you're discussing the current one. Stick to the issue at hand and try to be focused on what is the issue here, and don't just try to win the argument, but really try to get to understand each other. I think that should be the aim of every fight and disagreement. You're trying to understand, what is this person coming from? What is it that I'm missing here? What is it I'm not hearing? Instead of, I need to win this argument. So if I have to pull up some ammunition to let you know and let you have it, you're gonna get it. I mightn't get anything later, but I win in this argument. So don't do that. We don't want that.
One thing you need to also remember about that as well is that when it is you digging up things in the past, it also says something about you, the individual. It means that you're not letting go. You're not working through your issues because you may have dealt with it with your spouse in the previous argument or disagreement, but you decide to bring it up again. So the problem here is not your spouse anymore. The problem here is you. You can't seem to deal with issues. You can't seem to let go. So you have to work through those emotions. You might need some extra help. Huh? I just saying.
Just want to take a moment to just say good night to Jillian. If you're hearing us well, just tell us the song ain't good. Good night, Joanne. Thank you for joining us. So we're gonna move on to the third point, which is listen to each other's point of view without interrupting or judging. Listen to each other's point of view without interrupting or judging. Go ahead here, Sean. Start the battle.
Ooh, that just brought me to some points that sometimes Joshua might be saying something, and all of a sudden now I am thinking, right, I need to jump in to defend myself. And then I have to really hold my tongue and say, here what? Just listen to what the man's saying. Listen to what the man's saying. You might actually hear something that you need to hear. So you have to pull back, focus on the information that's being displayed. But what I want to also add in with that is when you're listening and the person's relaying, for the person relaying, try not to attack the person when you're relaying your point of view. Just say how you're feeling, explain the particular situation. And the person who's listening, show respect for your spouse when you're listening, because you have to be open to a discussion to take place. Because if it is you don't pay attention to the details you're hearing, you may not understand where they're coming from, and you won't be able to make any resolutions to what the issue is. In healthy relationships, we should be open to hearing what our partners have to say, even if their opinion different from ours, because compromise will lead to better results than arguing back. I must say that all we have actually improved a lot in that particular area because we would have just fight and attack or he would go silent. And we've actually found better ways in terms of fighting fair. Till sometimes we might have a disagreement now and or after we good, it's like, oh yeah, we've had a fall out before and everything. Yeah, but we always decide when we're fighting on it's for resolution because we realize we attacking the problem and not the person. And many times what happens is that we tend to want to attack the people and not the problem, which causes issues in the relation and causes the fight to escalate. So even when you're listening and doing things, remember you're attacking the problem, not the person.
And I want to say that at times when I am again trying to win the argument, there are times I'm listening what you're saying or I'm hearing what you're saying, but I'm just formulating my response in my head. So I can't even really get where you're coming from because I'm just trying to defend. So while you're saying it, I don't want to forget my point. So I'm just keeping my point in my head and I'm just ready to respond. So I'm missing where you're coming from. I'm missing why you actually having it. Why is this hurt? Why is this something affecting you that much? Because you have to make a choice. You either have to listen to understand where the person is coming from, or you're listening to respond. If you're listening to respond, in most cases, you're not going to get a chance to put yourself in the other person's shoes to really see why is this affecting you this much? What is it that I'm missing? What is it that you're trying to say to me? But if I'm simply saying, I can't wait for you to finish, I'm just waiting for you to pause. I'm just waiting for you to just hesitate so I could jump in and tell you what I feel and how it's affecting me, then you'll find yourself not getting anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to be going around in a circle, and before you know it, you're just trying to go back and forth on a particular point or another, and you don't really get anywhere. And I like what the fact that you said, listening to the person, give them a sense of respect. And I've been guilty of this. You're talking to me, maybe the game is on, and I'm pretending like I'm listening, or maybe I'm looking through you and I'm either looking at the game or I'm not looking at you or I'm looking at my phone or so forth. Listening not just with your ears, but with all your senses. You want to look at the person. You want to actually seem like you are interested in what they're saying. You're concerned about what they're saying and you want to really understand. If you don't, and sometimes you may have to give verbal signals that, you know what, I understand. I get where you're coming from. Okay. It really makes the person feel that you're hearing them and you're listening to what they're saying. That it may not, you may not even have to say anything except for the fact that you get where they're coming from. And giving a person or giving your spouse their undivided attention when they're sharing their point is critical. It may solve the issue, but by the time you get through it, the person may have calmed down. You may get a chance to appreciate what they're saying, and you're able to move to the next stage to really resolve the problem. Because in anything that you're doing, it must be to resolve the problem. And I love what Charlie said. It's not something personal about the person across from you. There is a problem. Always try to separate
The
the
problem
person
and the
and
problem.
the problem. You have to give your spouse the benefit of the doubt. You have to assume they want my best interest. If you can't start from that premise and you're looking for a reason as to why they're trying to hurt you, then
You might have a bigger
you're
problem.
going to have a bigger problem. You just have to give them the benefit of the doubt that they may have missed something. They may not have understood how this affect you. They may have come up with a different background. Their family, so the way they think is not the way you think. So you have to assume that there's a problem that we're not connecting, and this conversation is to help you understand what is affecting me and why this particular issue is hurting me this much. All right. The fourth one. So it says, express yourself in a respectful and kind way when you're fighting with your partner. I'll read that again. Express yourself in a respectful and kind way when you're fighting with your partner. So, Charlene, what about you?
Well, hmm, I have to ponder on that. Not because I don't know, but I just have to ponder. Many times what we fail to acknowledge that when we express somebody issue, because this is related to the previous point, that you need to consider the person that you're talking to. This person here is your other half, the person you're committed to. So when it is you're going to tell them something, whether it is something that's hurting you or something they did wrong, you need to be conscious of the fact that they too have emotions. Even though they may have hurt you, they too have emotion. And you have to think about the words you're saying. Be kind, be respectful, be courteous in terms of relating the information. Not because they might have hurt you means you have to be aggressive in your manner in terms of relaying the information. Because remember, everything what we discuss in here is about fighting fears, about having a resolution, not about attacking this person, but attacking the problem. When you express yourself, you need to be careful of what you're saying. Because remember, if you insult the person or you make accusations against their character, because sometimes we women we attack with our words. And trust me, we attack with our words. When you go down that road, you're looking for retaliation. Trust me, we will not like the way the man will retaliate to us. I'm saying women because we're very good with our tongues. So you have to be careful in terms of what we say. So take deep breaths, pull back, and focus on what you're saying. Understand that you're trying to resolve the issue that you have with this person. Be kind with your words, be respectful. Most importantly, this attitude you have to take in consideration. If we continue with this negativity, it can lead to increased tension in your marriage, which eventually hurting each other, either physical as emotional, as I mentioned. Because some men can't handle words because maybe they weren't taught in terms of how to deal with their emotions. So when you keep attacking them verbally, some of them, the only way they know to respond is physically. I'm not condoning abuse. I'm just saying what can typically happen because when we lash out with our tongues, we get very, very aggressive as women. We also need to understand that it can be difficult for some people as they have so much anger inside. They're trying to keep cool, but we have to reduce conflict. We have to be able to express ourselves in a manner that's beneficial to both of us. So even connecting to the previous point, if you have to walk away just to relay the information in a proper manner, that's great. One way that I used to express myself because I couldn't have done it with words, I used to write. So I would write how I feel and give it so they can read what it is I am feeling and be able to have a discussion after because they can feel my pain through my words because I like to write, so I was good with that. So if it is a case that you're good with writing and you can't express yourself, write it out. That way you can reduce the tension of the aggression coming forward, but you're still expressing yourself in a manner that the person can relate to.
Um, I would say for men, the things that we have to be mindful of more so is our tone. We could project a sense of aggression and anger by simply the voice or the level of our voice. And when we're angry, it could almost come off scary, where the person don't know by your tone, are you going to become physical? Are you going to become aggressive? This person is your other half. This person is a part of you. And God has given you that person to protect them. They should always feel safe around you, no matter how bad things get. They should never have to feel threatened around you. They should always know that, irrespective of what, no matter how much this may be hurtful or it's going to hurt you, that you will never hurt this person beside, at least in a physical way, because there are times we make mistakes, there are times we say things we don't mean, there are times that we get angry and we also lash it. But the one thing we have to be very mindful of is our tone. We God has given us an ability to command authority just by our voice, and that's why your children listen to you. There's a difference when some, well, I can't say I grew up with my mother, and when she looked at me I responded, but there is still a difference when my father spoke to me. He just had to call my name, and it commanded attention. And men has that power simply sometimes from their voice, and we have to be mindful of that. That person beside us is a jewel. It's our queen. We have to speak with to her even with love, even if you're angry, because at the end of the day, she's yours. And God wants you to care for her. And I'm saying this even when you're angry. That is why, and it goes back to the first point. If you're not in a mindset, in a mind frame, take a walk, step away, get away from that situation, because even if you have the best intention in mind, if you say it the wrong, you could say the right thing with a wrong tone and you still end up wrong. So be mindful of your tone. So that respect is coming from the fact that that person is the one that God has given you to love. So let's just be mindful of our tone. So I think that's the one thing. As I said, I think women are very good with words. But men, we sometimes, because of that, we lash out and we get angry and we use our tone and we raise our voice. So that'd be the one thing I do. So for those that are on, is there a question that you have or a comment that you have as it relates to how to fight fairly? What is one of the things that you find has been useful to you as it relates to fighting fair with someone that you have been in an argument with? Let us know in the comments. So we're going to look at the next one. And thank you, Julian, for that point. And that's definitely right. um, Tone. Tone is so important, especially for men. Let's look at the fifth one.
Ask for what you want instead of expecting your partner to know. So let me go again. Ask for what you want instead of expecting your partner to know.
And this one, I think, is critical in both cases.
Mm,
There are times that we just think our spouse know what we're thinking. And we assume that if you love me, you care for me, you should know I want this. You should know I want this to be done. And I was using the example, today with Charlie, that sometimes men thinking that that I want to have sex very often, and if you don't, is something that it means to me, and I start take it personal, and you know either I lash out where I don't talk or get angry, I make some sort of fight up, something to kind of create an argument, maybe in the hope that I could bring this up. But really and truly, the person probably just don't know that you would like to have sex more often, that you like me to spend more time with you, that I don't like that you come home late from work every day. And then when you come home late from work, you don't put your shoes aside. And so here's what you do. You realize the man come home again. He leave his shoes in a place that you don't want. So what?
last one.
Right? You go there and you take it up with passion, huh? You hope he see it, and you take it up with some anger, and you walk and you put it in the side, and you're hoping that he says something, or you're hoping that he's reading your mind, that what you're doing here is upsetting me, so I respond in a certain way to get your reaction. We can't read each other's mind. We could assume, but assumptions is dangerous. So take the time to sit down and tell someone, what is it that you want? What do you expect? Is something changed? Are you noticing something different? Use the right time to say it too. There are times that you could bring it up at a time that's not best. Sometimes ask the person, when is a good time that we could do so, and I could share what I'm feeling. And one of the points that I love is that you should also encourage the person, for the next time, I would like you to initiate it, because you open the door now to let them understand that there might be some things that you want me to do, or some things that you have a problem that I might not be doing. I want to give you that invitation to tell me what are some other things that I could be doing differently. Right. So, and again, we can't read each other's mind. There are times that we think we should, you spend so much time together, you live so long together, you've been married for so long, you've been dating for so long, before that you're best friends, and you still just assume we should know. It's not always the case. What about you, Sean?
I want to highlight and bring up that many times as women, we have this idea that our spouse or partner should be able to read our minds. And that's a common issue with women. I've read in women's group where, but he should understand where I'm coming from. He knows me, and big argument and other women supporting him. But nobody's taking time to understand, if you don't tell him, how is he going to know whatever the issue is? I've even had cases where some of my clients will come and complain about their spouses. And I'm listening to them and think, and I'm saying, okay, so you told me this. Did you tell him what you're telling me? No, he's supposed to know. I said, but how is he supposed to know? But he's my husband. I said, but do you know so about him? And then you see the pause. It's like they never thought about what it is he would like or not like. Because they're not concerned about that. They're concerned about he not understanding or reading their mind. I said the same amount of attention that you would like from him is the same he most likely would want from you. I say, would it kill you to even talk to the man about whatever the issue is? because you're not going to lose anything. You're going to get more sleep because you're going to feel much better that you communicated. Or he's not going to communicate. I say, but you haven't tried. I say, you're also part of the problem because you're creating a negativity. So many times we create our problems too because we're not saying what it is we want. Talk to the other person. Let them know what you're going through. Trust me, we'll save a lot of hassle in our relationship if we just talk to each other and say what it is we really want.
All right. So the last point we want to share this evening before we wrap up is forgive one another when they make mistakes. It's hard to do, but it will help your relationship stay strong. We can't emphasize this enough. There are times that we think if we forgive the person, we are admitting that it's okay. And that's not necessarily the truth. You could forgive someone for something that they did wrong, but still hold them accountable to the fact that I didn't appreciate what you did, but you've genuinely asked for my forgiveness, or even if they did not ask for your forgiveness,
Mm-hmm.
you should enter the situation to be intentional to forgive the person, not just for them,
But
but
for
more
yourself,
so for
for yourself.
yourself. What you find is that if your spouse did something to you and you hold that inside long enough,
It's going to build
it,
them.
it builds up. It almost is building block upon building block upon building block. At the time when you're now preparing yourself to move from it, you have created almost a mental block that it takes you longer to now trust the person. It takes you longer to get to appreciate it takes you longer to accept the words that they're saying, that they're actually genuine now, because you train your brain for so long to say, hey, this person I cannot trust. I'm not going to say I'm not going to forgive you because maybe you didn't do enough to prove to me yet. We're saying forgiveness is not for the other person. It's for you. It's for you to start that healing and to recognize that yes, you deserve more, you deserve better. And I'm not going to keep this. I'm not going to allow this action to hold me from healing, from actually feeling better about myself and where I'm at. So that forgiveness, I believe, is critical for you. What about you, Sean?
I want to also add that not because you're forgiving someone means that you're not holding them accountable for what they would have done. Your other person, your significant other, would have done something to hurt you, whatever the issue may be. Yes, you expect change from them, but whether they change or not, forgiveness is giving yourself peace of mind, releasing the pain so you can function. Because whether they accept that forgiveness or they make that change to them, you will still be harboring this pain and you're the one who's affected mentally and physically. Trust me, it eats at your core because you see, when your mental state is in disarray, your physical is also affected. So forgiveness is for healing for you so you can function daily, because many times, as we realize with mental illnesses and mental disorders, that when you're affected mentally, your body starts to react in different ways. You have different physical ailments and all this different stuff, and it takes a toll on your body. So when it is you're forgiving this person, you're taking into consideration, I know you hurt me. I expect you to do better. You holding them accountable to do better, but you're releasing the pain so you can function. So it's not a case of you giving them a pass. It's you setting a tone so you can function properly, so you can live your life with peace of mind. But yes, it is when you turn and say you're going to have a discussion with them as you talk about communicating. What steps are we going to make to ensure that you do not repeat the actions? So that is going to be part of the discussion. So note that even though forgiveness is taking place, is not taking away the fact that steps must be taken to change the behavioral pattern. And if it is that you need extra help and you need counseling, professional counseling, then you also seek that. But the person must be held accountable for their actions, even though you are practicing forgiveness. So please note, we're not excusing and giving the person a pass by issuing or saying that you must forgive. We're saying that the person will also be held accountable. But you too have to be able to function in a healthy spiritual manner.
All right, so we're just gonna recap and we're gonna close off now. So we're saying the first point here, we're talking about how to fight fear in marriage. Number one, discuss the problem when both are calm not in the heat of anger. If you need to step away for a while, take a drive, calm down, find a time that you can speak about. Do not get calm and forget it. I'm saying be intentional
When
to
dealing with the issue.
come back to the issue. And so because we're talking about fighting fear, not avoiding. All right.
Mhm.
Number two.
Don't bring up past issues when discussing current problems. So remember, the past is the past. If it is that you bring up a past issues, are the two things. You haven't been able to let go or you never dealt with it, and then that's another issue. So you need to deal with the problem. So if it is you didn't deal with the problem before, you need to find a way to deal with the problem and move on. So but don't bring up past issues in order to fight with your spouse.
Number three, listen to each other's point of view without interrupting or judging the other person. Listening to someone, and we need to listen to understand it. It also shows a sign of respect for your spouse when you intently listen to what they're saying and don't jump in to simply put put in your point of view.
Express yourself in a respectful and kind way when fighting with your partner. Be kind, be respectful. Say what you need to say, but don't be aggressive. The whole point is resolution and healing for the relationship.
Number five, ask for what you want instead of expecting your partner to know. Your partner can't read your mind. Let them know what's on your mind. Speak from the issue that is taking place with you. Don't judge them, but just speak to how it is affecting you. How what do you want and what do you expect, and just to be respectful in the way in how you communicate that. And the last point that we just shared as well, as we close off.
Forgive one another when they make mistakes. It's hard to do, but it will help your relationship stay strong. Forgiveness is important. It's healing for both you and your significant other. Practice forgiveness. God forgives us and He expects us to forgive others.
All right. So thank you so much for joining us this evening in terms of how to fight
How
fear
to fight fear.
in marriage. If you haven't joined our YouTube channel, please remember to like this video, subscribe, and click that notification bell so when we post more videos like this, you will be notified. And share the page with someone so that you could bless someone that might be going through something in their marriage. Maybe they're now starting out. To share the page so that they could also go back and view the others. If you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the comment section. You could also go to our website. It's at vividresolution.com.
So thank you for joining us this evening and hope to see you next week. So enjoy your evening. Goodbye.